Good Sunday morning and welcome to Kelsey's Corner. Interesting topic that I've chosen for this Sunday morning. We're teaching our kids wrong. Well, basically, what that means also is that you were taught wrong. So let's talk about what you're teaching your kids wrong and what you were taught wrong. Let's see if we can put this together in a very digestible format here of some sort. I'm just kind of doing this off the top of my head. I've not scripted anything here. It's all right here. I've got years and years and years of all this stuff gathered right here. And you don't have to agree with me. Every time that I do something like this, I really will try to make the point that I'm not telling you what to think, but I am challenging you to think. And that rethinking what you're doing, what we're doing, is a good thing, not a bad thing. So dare to question, not just me, question yourself, question what you've been taught, question everything. That's where growth comes from. That's where maybe we can progress a little bit. There are certain things that we know for a fact about life. And when we have kids, it is our natural desire to protect them. We want to keep them innocent. We want to just wrap our arms around them and protect them from the big bad world. And it's interesting because we know the world is a big bad world. We know the crap that's going to come their way. It came our way. It came our grandparents' way. It's throughout the history of humans. All this bad stuff happens. It's life. It is 100% life. But when these little kids, when we have our children and we are bringing them, it is our job to train them, to help them develop and mentor them into becoming the adults that can do well in what life throws at them. But what I'm suggesting is we don't do a very good job with that. In fact, we still want to, even as adults, a lot of times, we want to shelter ourselves from the realities of life. I hear a lot of women, especially in relationships, they want their man to tell them everything's going to be all right. Everything, and this is the problem. Everything's going to be all right. And then we create these scenarios about afterlife and so forth that we want to ever present there, that even at the end of life, we're still grabbing a hold of it's all right. Yes, they died, but it's all right because now they're there. We really put that out there, and we don't even know that any of this is true. And we miss out on a lot of life based on this. And that's my point. Kids are a lot better at accepting things than we give them credit for. Let's start there. We shelter them to a degree that is totally unnecessary, and it does not prepare them well to become adults and deal with the realities of life. We focus on things that make them set to fit into a society and not have to deal with the realities too well. We shelter them from death, not just protecting them from harm and potential of losing their life, but from the thought of death. From the thought of death. And see, this is where we fail. Sure, we want to protect our loved ones, we want to protect ourselves, our kids, our loved ones from harm's way and from premature death of any sort, as long as we can. But the fallacy is we have carried this on to where we're not even wanting to touch the subject of death, the very real subject of death. This is part of life. We go through life, and like I said, there's grown ass women out there that I hear it, you know. Tell me it's going to be okay. Tell me it's going to be okay. What I'm hearing when I hear someone say, just tell me it's going to be okay, is that they don't want to have to deal with, they're not prepared. They're ill prepared to deal with the realities of life. Very ill prepared to deal with the realities of life. Sad. Because we're not going to escape these realities. Life is not going to be, and the ultimate, we know, well, here we go, right? We know the ultimate, we know where it's all going to end. And then we create this narrative of when you die, your spirit's going to leave your body and you're going to go forever, blah, blah, blah. And it's always this mystical, magical unicorns, rainbows, and all this stuff. We're never truly prepared. I'm not saying that's true of everybody, but for a lot, I see it. The wailing, the weeping, the ill preparedness for life. The kids, they focus on the ball game, watch cartoons. We want to just fluff up the life. We want to fluff it up. And now we've got 40-year-old guys that are still at home with mom and dad. 40 freaking year old kids. We've got, and I see it all the time. We've got young adults still living at home because they're still sheltered. They're not dealing well. They're 18, 19, 20, and they're not dealing well with the world, with life. They're not dealing well with life at all. And just one generation sets up the next generation, sets up the next generation for what? You've got this space, and this is what has to be focused on. This is what kids need to be taught from birth. I'm sorry. I disagree with all this, sure, physically protect them, feed them, care for them. I'm not suggesting otherwise. What I'm suggesting, though, is don't refrain from having the conversations. Don't shy away from the conversations of these realities as you protect them the best you can. Because very few lives, if any, live out these fairy tale lives from start to finish. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it's a rarity that these lies are fairy tale lies. We will go, let's get them to the ball game, let's get involved in this, let's get involved in that, let's go to entertainment, blah, 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 blah. They're totally ill prepared for life. Life is full of crap. I know in my early days of religious upbringing, we were always told the sales point of our form of Christianity that I was raised in was that the earth was designed perfect for life. That's a sign of a creator itself, because look around, look at this. The earth was designed. It's the only planet we know that's designed. Designed, we love that word. It's designed perfectly for life. And then I grew up. And then I looked around, and reality of life hit me, and it's like, well, that's not exactly 100% the way that should be worded. It's not at all the way it should be worded, because what it is that, well, the earth is in a situation, it's perfect for giving birth to life, but it sucks at sustaining life. The oldest life that we find on the planet are things like trees. Humans fall in a category down here that our lifespan is 70, 80 years, and it's not that great. We're struggling. We're fighting for air. We're fighting for food. We're fighting against nature, from tornadoes and hurricanes and lightning and poisons and poisonous animals and snake bites and diseases, and then birth defects. It just goes on and on. The list of these many things that are out to snuff your life away, to take the pleasure of your life away. They're abundant. Our hospitals are full. Our hospitals are, and medical offices. If this planet and life was so great, why is our medical industry such a huge thing? Why is that such an important thing? You got get an appointment with your doctor. Go to your doctor, and you in the waiting room alone. If your doctor says you've got a 2 o'clock appointment, do you usually get in at 2 o'clock, like they said you would? It's a constant. These doctors, these hospitals, we have specialists in everything. Oh, you've got a hangnail. Let's go to the hangnail doctor. You've got a whatever. It's a specialist here, specialist there. And we still suffer the same because we're struggling to get through this life, knowing at the very end of it, we're going to lose. We're struggling all the way through, hopefully overcoming diseases, overcoming what the planet itself is trying to do to us, from poisonous plants to poisonous, venomous snakes to all the diseases to hurricanes and tornadoes and lightning and on and on and on and on and on and on. Still, we're not going to get out of it alive. And there is the downfall. Knowing this, we still set our future generations up for great disappointments in life. They're ill prepared, a lot are ill prepared to deal with the realities of life because it's always about unicorns and rainbows. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. We say it over and over. Oh, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. Knowing in the end it's not going to be fine. And then we try to sugarcoat that down from there, don't we? Now we take it to the next step. If we were even in death, it's going to be fine. Yes, Grandma died, but it's going to be fine because she's in heaven. We present this narrative. She's in heaven. And it's amazing the Christians teach that. She's in heaven. She's a better person. She's a better grandpa. And that kind of stuff. And it's not even what their Bible teaches them. It's not even what their own holy book teaches them. Yet they still want to paint this false narrative that it began when they were kids because they were sheltered from the realities of life. It wasn't that they just were protected from danger. We don't even want to talk about the danger. Oh, we'll talk about the dangers and look both ways before you cross the road. We'll do that. Don't touch the hot stove. Certainly we'll do those things. But those realities that we cannot escape, we don't want to talk about that. We want to set them up for a career, a lifelong task of working and collecting and buying and building, and then retirement. And then retirement. Oh yes, in our country we've got this wonderful thing called Medicare and Social Security, that when we reach these fine old ages like I am, then we're kind of taken care of. But then we've got to bow down to the system because we have to go in once a year for a physical to check and see if there's something we should be fighting against. And there's all kind of stuff to be fighting. Did you get this test done? I get letters. Have we got this test done and that test done? Test. Because why do we have all these tests? Because there's so many things that can fight our asses. And the reality is this is where we're going to end up. And we don't deal with that very good. We do not want to hear it. We don't want to talk about it. We don't want to keep that cognizant thought because, one, it doesn't do good for a capitalist society. It doesn't do good for controlling humans. It doesn't do good for controlling humans if we all realize the vanity of the whole thing. We've got less interest to support this system. less desire because we understand the futility of the whole thing. We've got less desire, less interest in the ball games and entertainment because we understand how futile, how useless it is. It's just one little book I wrote for the victim of WMD, Weapons of Mass Distraction. So there's a little brief Sunday morning of reality check on this Sunday morning, not selling hope. The hope is you've got this moment. The hope is live this moment, because once this moment's gone, it's forever gone, irreplaceable. That one thing, time, what's spent, it's gone. It's never going to get it back. And this once youthful face is now the face of an old man. His time is doing like this, and getting shorter and shorter and shorter. But the fact is, so is yours. It's shrinking and shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. And what are you doing with your time? I got some people whose time is spent politics. You know, beating up this one, beating up that one, or debating this or debating that, or building. Oh, what's my favorite thing is my house. My favorite thing is my car. My favorite thing is what? Maybe your favorite thing should be living, and living in this moment. Living in this moment. Grabbing hold of this moment. Being very focused on this moment instead of worrying about 401ks and all the other bullshit, because at the end of the day, I get these phone calls trying to sell me funeral insurance. And they say, well, you don't want to burden your loved ones after you're gone. It's like, I'm not going to be burdening my loved ones after I'm gone, because all my loved ones are fucking gone. They can't be burdened. They're gone. Even if they're up there, they're gone. They're not burdened by anything here. This is where we're going wrong, folks. We're not dealing with reality. We're shading it. We're covering it. We don't want to deal with it. We don't want to talk about it. We want to push it, push it, push it back, and push it back. This moment's important. This moment is the most important moment you'll ever have. And it is the most important moment in your life because it is this moment. You may not be here the next moment. And you can't do anything about the last moment. This moment is all that matters. Peace.